In this episode of Rich in Relationship, the business advice that's killing your partnership and maybe your business too. One of the worst pieces of business advice I've ever been given is leave the emotion out of business. You've probably heard it another way. People say, it's only business, don't take it personally. I mean, how many times have you been fired or dismissed from a job and told it's only business? The problem is that everything is personal, right? We say business isn't personal, but there are feelings involved. And when we ignore feelings, that is when we are most likely to get off track. Oh, I'm not arguing that feelings should run your life. I'm arguing that feelings are central in any decision-making process and therefore never to be disregarded. This is especially true in your partnership. Now, before you think I'm saying we should make emotional decisions, I'm not. Fear shouldn't make your decisions. Anger shouldn't make your decisions. Excitement shouldn't make your decisions. But emotionally absolutely belongs in the conversation because our emotions inform us. The difference is, are you having the feeling or is the feeling having you? When we make emotional decisions, the feeling is having us. Emotion is always trying to tell us something. It's information. At the very least, it's information about what this situation looks like to us, even if it's not what's actually happening. We may have an emotional decision because something looks like a situation that we've had in the past. It isn't necessarily, but it might appear that way, and it tells us something about where we are. Or we might be in a situation that looks like something in the past, and it might actually be that way. Either way, there's information. The problem is not the emotion. The problem is either completely dismissing it, because at that point, emotion tends to take over, or completely embracing it as if it is the thing that's going to tell you what to do next. I worked with a couple. Guess what their name is? Brad and Gwen. Brad was a master salesman. Gwen was amazing at the details. She kept the machine running. One day, Brad landed what he thought was an incredible opportunity, a private school. Now, just to give you a little background, Brad and Gwen were in cleaning. They were in residential cleaning. And Brad came home super excited because a private school, the students of that school, those parents were their target market for private cleaning. He was super excited. This is going to be great for business. We'll be able to get our name out in front of all the parents of this school. We'll be able to tell them, trust your home to the people who you trust your kids' school with. We're going to make money cleaning the school, and we get to market our residential services to all the families. Now, from a sales perspective, it was actually kind of an interesting idea. He may not have been wrong, but the problem was he didn't involve Gwen. He didn't consult with her. He didn't even inform her till after he had already signed the contract and announced the decision. You can imagine how Gwen felt. First, she felt a little blindsided. She was like, why is Brad making decisions without me? But Gwen experienced the result of the decision very differently. Because you see, commercial cleaning is a very different game than residential household cleaning. There's a lower level of trust needed in some ways, but also you have to be able to bond the cleaners. The cleaning tools are different. Some of the cleaning products are similar, but the schools drive what products you can use to some extent. Different in many instances, different equipment, different staffing in many instances, and often it requires different training. You're cleaning much bigger spaces. You're involved in much less personal space. There's a lot less personal interaction in residential cleaning. Though you're not supposed to interact with the clients, when you do, it's always supposed to be chipper, friendly, connected. In commercial cleaning, not so necessary. And suddenly she found that she was really hiring for two different jobs and running two different teams. When she tried to get the residential team to do the commercial cleaning, they would go back to the residences a little more jaded, a little more rundown, a little less meticulous. And she started feeling frustrated. Not just frustrated, she was overwhelmed. And honestly, underneath it all, not being consulted at all was hurtful. She felt hurt. Brad started to notice he wasn't a complete thick SOB. And he said, "Why are you so upset, Gwen? It's business. This is part of business. We're expanding. We're growing, aren't we?" And that sentence stopped me because Brad assumed Gwen's emotion was the problem, and it wasn't. Her emotion was a warning light on the dashboard, right? If you're driving a car and the check engine light comes on, some of us ignore it until the engine tells us what the problem is. Some of us go get it checked. It was telling him something really important. What it needed to be telling him was, I was hurt that I wasn't included. What it needed to be telling him was, this is stressing the car, right? The business, if it were a car, was, let's call it a Lexus wagon, but what he wanted it to be was a Mercedes-Benz truck. Just two completely different animals. What she was trying to tell him is, Brad, you made a decision unilaterally that rocked my world. It rocked my world at work, and it rocked my world emotionally. In working together, Gwen was finally able to say this to Brad. And I want to be clear, this wasn't a communication problem. It was a business system problem. In a partnership, one partner cannot make a major decision that alters everything in the business without consulting the other partner. They did not have that built into their partnership system. A strong partnership has it built in that partners will make individual decisions in their area of personal strength as long as it doesn't radically impact the rest of the business, except maybe in radical success. Brad learned as a partner that Gwen's emotions were actually valid, and there were a lot of problems that came out of this choice. For one thing, because they had to run two different crews, the cost of training new people, the time it took to train new people sucked a lot out of Gwen and made her less available for their home life and for Brad. It also sucked a lot of time out of Brad because he kept coming back and saying, hey, this isn't being taken care of properly, and he had to create a whole new operations list for Gwen to work with her team with. And it cost the company a lot of money. So even though there was an increase in revenue, they spent a lot more because it takes 17% of a trainer's time to get somebody up to speed over 3 months. That's a lot of time. And you don't always hire the perfect people the first time. They went through some bodies to get to the right recipe. It was costly to make a whole change and start a whole new division of their business. And Brad had not understood that. The same thing happens at home, by the way, whether you're in business together or not. Imagine that one parent signs a kid up for soccer, for dance, karate. These are great opportunities. The kids are thrilled. It makes perfect sense, except the other parent is now responsible for driving everyone, making sure that they're not too tired, making sure that they have the right equipment, making sure that they eat dinner together. That often falls apart. Sometimes people are eating separately, and that parent is frazzled. Evenings disappear. Sometimes weekends disappear. And when that parent gets frustrated, it's easy to say, why are you making such a big deal out of it? It's what's best for the kids. It's information. But the frustration isn't the problem. The frustration is an expression of the problem. It's telling you that someone else is carrying the consequences they never signed up for. And, years ago, I've told you the story of my mom retiring from Mournhurst Gardens. One day she basically came to me and she said, I'm retiring. I'm giving you the business. Isn't it great? I'm going to focus on my marriage and my life. I'm going to have a house in Martha's Vineyard I'm going to work on. I'm so thrilled. Thank you so much for coming and helping me with this business. And that was basically it. And there was no transition, no coaching, no roadmap. And at the time, I think we both believed it's only business. And at the time, I thought, well, I'm kind of happy for her. I remember feeling a little sad. Oh, wow. I had really hoped that this was an opportunity for my mom and I to work together, for me to learn some of the things that she knew, for us to build a relationship. I felt a little abandoned, but I didn't say anything because it was just business. And I wasn't upset. That she retired. I was thrilled for her. That she felt that she could trust me. I was thrilled for her. That she felt she had the financial means. But I was scared. The business had been built around her. It was a cult of personality. She was charismatic. She had a design eye that I did not have at that time. It was built around her relationships, her reputation, her instincts. And I cannot tell you how hard I had to work when she left to learn some of what she knows. She left a huge gap emotionally and functionally in the business. And I didn't feel this alone. The clients felt it. I remember the clients saying, "Hey, where's Ann? What happened to Ann?" You see, business wasn't just business. There was something about her that resonated with them, with our employees. It had always been deeply personal. And of course, we adjusted and we pivoted and we grew and built an even more successful business over time. But first, there were a lot of very hard lessons, and it didn't have to be like that. And that's why I keep telling you, it may be just business, but it's always emotional. And the emotional part is really important. And if I were to go back and do that over today, I would tell me then, hey, go to your mom and ask her to help you. But I was afraid she would think I was less of an adult, not even a man, if I asked her to help. I wanted her to be happy. Lessons learned. When emotion gets ignored and a partner feels unheard, or another feels overwhelmed, or someone begins carrying a burden they never agreed to carry, instead of becoming curious about it or exploring it with them, we tell them, don't take it personally. It's just business, just like my mom did, just like Brad did to Gwen. And there's so much more to it. Leaving emotion out of the business is ass backwards, right? The feelings may not be facts, but they are guideposts. Working with Brad and Gwen, I help them to pay attention to each other's emotion because the emotion would inform them as to how big a change it was. Brad saw that if he had paid attention to that light coming on his dashboard, maybe he wouldn't have switched to commercial cleaning quite so quickly. Not that it was a bad move, it was the way they did it. Maybe he would have worked with Gwen on, okay, let's say we're gonna make this switch. How can we make it systematically? How can we make it carefully? How do we build this separate but related division in our business? And with her assistance, it would have happened quickly and almost seamlessly. When I work with partners in this regard, I coach them to become curious about emotion, to think about it as that warning light on the dashboard. And ignoring the light doesn't fix the engine. Ignoring your emotions or your partner's emotions doesn't fix the partnership. Emotion is the dashboard. It's the thing that informs you as to the next best thing to do. It's pointing towards something that deserves your attention. And when you pay attention to that emotion, it will help you to feel your way to the right business decision. Not just think, but feel. Most decisions, actually all decisions, are made emotionally first, and then we rationalize them second. So being aware of emotion is the difference between a decision that works and a decision that doesn't. We don't just ask at Rich in Relationship, is this the right business decision? We ask a second question, and that is, what is the emotional impact of this decision on the people who have to live with it? We ask people to think it through. Because every business decision is also a relationship decision when you're building a business together. So the next time someone says it's only business, I'd like you to remember something. Business isn't built on spreadsheets. It's built on people. Customers, employees, partners. You know what? Families aren't just built in beautiful houses. They're built in partnership. They're built in your children. They're built in the people who help you with your children. Emotion is super important in both cases. And in this case, if your partner is also your spouse, their emotions aren't an obstacle to better decisions. They are a green flag or a red flag to moving forward. They're often the first indication that something important has been overlooked. Don't let emotion make your decisions, but don't ignore it. Use it as a guidepost. Emotion is not the enemy of business. It's your business's greatest partner, and it is your greatest asset in your partnership because it is always the first clue that will lead you to relational and financial success. Hey, if you like what you're hearing, subscribe, like this episode, comment, share this with your friends. And in the meantime, have an amazing day and a fantastic tomorrow.